Hello viewers, I am Usman Lee and I welcome you to our this week Semesters Avenue, and right here we are in Senegambia at the Seaview Hotel Resort, and today in our episode we have a high profile Gambian who we are going to celebrate. Now when we talk about semester in our context, these are sons of Gambian who travel to find greener pasture. We hail them, we celebrate them. In our today's episode, we have no other person than Saikou Camara, Mr. Saikou Camara. When we talk about Saikou Camara, he authored two important books titled Testimony of an African Immigrant. This is the book written by Mr. Saikou Camara. He talks about the immigration which involves Africans. And the other one is Africa through a mirror. He reflects Africa through a mirror. This is a literally work done by Mr. Saikou Camara, and he will help us and break the issues for us. He will break the content of the book for us as we discuss and interact with Saikou. He is a prolific writer. He is a skillful writer who is internationally recognized. You will follow me, viewers. We go with him and we will see what Saikou has for us. Yes, follow me. Hello viewers, as I said earlier, we are here with Mr. Saikou Camara. He's an author, he's a prolific writer, a skillful one for that matter, and today we are here to celebrate him. We will hail him as well, and please you stay with us in doing that. Later I will hand over the mic to him. He will introduce and he will tell you whatever Saikou Camara, and he will also take us through his daily routines as he spends his holidays in the Gambia. Mr. Camara, the mic is over to you.
Thank you very much to you for giving me opportunity to spend my day with you guys, and also to your viewers for inviting me into your platform to have a conversation with you guys. Like you said, my name is Saikou Camara, or some people call me Saikou Camara. It doesn't really matter. Originally born in Tobacco Road, Banjul, raised in Old Joshua, and that's about it. It's very simple and straightforward. Yes, I don't know what much your viewers may need to know about me, except that I have an engineering degree, but people know me more as an author, so which means either I'm a bad engineer or I am an overrated author, and either of them are good. So, yeah.
Dwell into that because I will pose questions on you where you will give us the answers that the viewers will want to hear. We will now kickstart the program, but it's like the food is already ready, the breakfast. We have to take a brief break and have ourselves this beautiful breakfast, then we can continue. But before going further, Mr. Camara, I would want you to introduce the lady for the viewers. Let them know what you are doing with the lady, because according to her introduction, she works here she's part of the management of Seaview Hotel. What is your collaboration with her?
Ana suma xarit bu ñaawul bi toog fii nii suma caami. Mom, she is part of the Seaview management group here, and Seaview group have a pledge to buy 50 of my books, The Testimony of an African Immigrant and Africa Through a Mirror, and they have also offered to donate these books to prisons and public institutions, including high schools across the country. So every summer night, they give my breakfast. They have great food. I enjoy their food here at Seaview Garden here in Senegambia. So take them, the Mabuga use opportunity with them to officially hand over the books that they have pledged to purchase, and thank them for their support and commitment towards enhancing education in the Gambia. So next Kaji Cisse. So I want to personally thank Mrs. Cisse. I also would like to thank the Jani and the Rouge family, who are all part of the Seaview Group management, and their entire staff. They always took care of us every morning we come here for breakfast. They always make sure that we are satisfied fully. And to top it off, they offered us to launch our book in their premises, and then went top of it again, offered to buy 50 books and donate it to public institutions. So when we talk about we have a nation to build, we know that it's not monolithic. We need partnership. You know, so look at all of you there were here, more dollar. So then you and Japan guys, you can tell our partnership. Now we pray and hope that it will continue for many, many years. So once again, thank you very much to Mrs. Cisse and the entire CV management group. And here are some copies of your book here. And there are more books that will be delivered to your office. So these are just symbolic to say to you guys that thank you very much. From the Jollof Publishing team, Saikou Speaks Group, we thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Yes. I would also want her to say 2 or 3 words before we will leave her. And maybe, Madam, you can say that to our lovely listeners.
Thank you.
Because we have, yes, we have so many viewers out there.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, what motivates you to partner with them? Why do you pledge?
You want me to speak it in what? Say it in
Yes,
Wolof?
say it in Wolof.
Okay.
Yes, the Wolof listeners are listening.
I'm bad at actually bad bit of a hell of them, but you know, just to support our own. You know, this is like a pleasure having to do this. You know. And all I would say is everyone should go get a book. Them get a book. We can have the real reason why we're even doing it. Yeah?
Okay, thank you, Madam. I think that is very good, and it is welcoming for this is very good for the Gambia. We are plowing back whatever we have. It is good to help build the nation.
Definitely, to build the nation. That's right.
As Mr. Saikou put here, we have a nation to build.
Definitely.
Yes, this is our single honor to do this. It is a responsibility for all of us. We cannot just rely on our leaders and presidents for such. So we all have a responsibility to do. And I think you are doing your part, and congratulations, we are proud of you, Madam Cisse. Am I right? You are Madam Cisse.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Now we will leave you. We will commit you. I know your schedule is very tight.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Madam.
That's what I'm about.
Yeah.
You busy?
Yeah, quite some. Yeah, very busy.
You don't want to find the end of the day to get to the cover event. I'm going to put it. They're going to listen to the whole thing and the things in cow.
Definitely. The turnout was very good.
You're not from the Mawara.
Thing is maybe the management, the organization, how to work. This month is really loaded with so many events. This and last month, this month and last month. Yeah, so I believe and guys, we have only one fan base. This is one set of group that support everything. So I think they want to have a different person. So when there was this one, and also, I think there is this misunderstanding between the organizers and the fans, the general fans, because of the introduction of this the festival before. This is the rule that it is for only Gambians. It is a platform for Gambian artists here and abroad. But this year is a different case. Yes, artists from Senegal, even from so many places. So people believe, now we are sidelining some of our Gambian artists. So, these are some of the
So, programming 2 days.
What do you want to do?
Huh? Go ahead, you guys want to drink anything?
Water. Pineapple juice.
Water. 2 days event. No, probably it's a little bit too much. Because that sounds like a carnival type of event. Because 2 days, for example, ST so when they perform Saturday, when they get ST fan, chances are I'm not going to the show till Saturday.
Yes.
Jesus when they perform on Friday, chances are I'm only going to go to Friday and skip Saturday. So you split your fan base into two. I figured that could be a challenge. Young Fallen and Tangane, the Fabari program. So what are the 3 top artists in the country? Attack, Jizzle, and ST. They all did album launch in the past 3 years.
Yeah.
They all have like the same artists in all 3 events. So what do you think? Why will I go to an open mic when I've already seen all these artists 3 times already in the past 3 weeks? So I don't know whether that's something that and they are all open mic format. So let's sit in. Nekune is a different type of city. It's the same open mic format set in Bulgaria and book events here. Open mic shows the young artists how to make money. Now they have the formula, they're making money on their own. So why would they? You know what I'm saying? Right? Yeah. So if the 3 top artists London album, they invite the same top artists in the country, they perform 3 weeks in a row, and then you have an open mic. I think the open mic will make really suffer. The only way the open mic can make up for that is if they started blending in heavy hitters foreign artists as well, which is going to take away the main purpose of the open mic to begin with, unfortunately. But if they want to kind of remain profitable, unfortunately that's the route they will have to take. Unfortunately.
Water.
So. I don't know the grassroots ones. It's been years since I've stopped following the grassroots artists. Many years ago, I was very, very much in touch with the grassroots artists. Whether it was the top 50s we were doing it many years ago, right? I in fact consider Attack as the new version of top 50. Whether it was the Jalex who started as a rapper before he kind of switched into something different. He first started Mandika rap thing before the Bunkers, then the Mandimoris and the SDs. You could see the transformation of the Gambian music scene. Right there, we don't have new grassroots, underground artists. I only know the big studios.
So, who's your favorite?
This one is biased, and it's biased for good reasons. I have followed ST career since he was not getting invited to shows. Since way before Suma Halftime, when Nien Junku, that song Nien Junku was an outro, in fact not even a song, was an outro in a song that he did, and then that became a hit and he turned into a song. We have worked with ST when he released his first album, and we were literally helping him to market it internationally by selling copies in different states and different countries, whether it was France, whether it was in Sweden. His manager, Cardi, was in America at the time. Sent all of us copies. I remember I was personally sending people copies to buy his album just to push it because the market here was too small at the time. So I'm kind of biased in my opinion. If I have to choose one, I have to go with ST. But they are all talented, right? If you look at what Jisoo is doing, he's a different kind of a genre from what ST is doing. It's fun, it's kind of have the Afro funk to it, You know, the Afrobeat style. I like that. Then you have what ST is doing. I don't even know how to categorize it. I don't even think there's a category for the house there. That is ST. That is so local and so Gambian and so ST. He's the king and the master of that, what he's doing right now. Then you have Attack. He's so politically intelligent when he speaks his rhymes, the way he write them, the way he flow with them, the way he mix them up with other dialects and whatnot. I love that style about him, right? But then a few years ago, you have people like Benjamin. I feel like he was one of the best reggae artists that ever came out of here, right? And then at some point, I had high hope for, is it Mighty Joe? Is his name Mighty Joe? I had, right. So that was a few years ago, maybe 5, 8 years ago. I had very, very high hopes for Mighty Joe. I hope he can still make a comeback, you know. And then, of course, our Glambala King himself, by Babu, when I've been following him since he was Brain Cracker and rapping hardcore rap with 1050 back in the days. Now to being by Babu and being a global artist and performing in big stages. So I have multiple stars in the game, but I'm just biased with ST. I think he's the best and he's my favorite.
Yeah, that's good. So I hope you get what he's saying.
Oh yeah.
You understand Manika very well?
Oh yeah, I understand Manika very well, and that's why I enjoy listening to his lyrics, because everything he says I can relate with.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can you give us a version of some section of his song? Can you give us whatever you can remember from any of his songs?
I will just take sound bites. Seems like when he says basic things like
no, at this point I want you to sing for us like you.
I cannot do that. I cannot do that.
Just try.
I'm terrible at that. I cannot do that. But I can do it. I can give you sound bites like some other Mafudi. These are Mandinka proverbs that have a deeper meaning. If you understand Mandinka, right? If you understand the true sense of the dialect itself and some of the speed that SE speak, sometimes it makes you wonder, right? And one of his songs, when he mentioned something like Takatiti, so you have to know Makati, and you have to know, if you ask the Amite students back in the, I didn't go to Amite, but I used to go to Makati and the St. Kalakunda area for holidays. You know, if you know what Takatiti was back then, and you heard how the kid coded that and put it part of his rhyme, that gave it the authenticity, you know, make you feel like, oh yeah, this is so Gambian. Right? So little things like that make me really, really appreciate his lyrics.
I would really love it when I would put this thing into song from ST song.
That's a point. I'm a terrible singer, man. Yeah. And I'm not good at memorizing songs.
Okay. So how will you describe the Gambian music scene at the current moment? At this moment?
It's very encouraging to see that, like I said, when you look at where the open mic started many years ago. By the way, major shout out to people like X-Mars and Wagan and all the people behind the scene that have been working tirelessly for over a decade now, building this industry from nothing, literally, that was nothing, to where it is today. So we appreciate them, the Black Men's Crew, we appreciate them and we acknowledge them and we thank them for what they did. I remember when they used to play on street corners, right? And they went from street corners to performing. I remember when they thought they were big, they were performing at the beach. We started having open mics at the beach. So now they are filling in the Independence Stadium. And even to a larger extent, they show these younger artists now how to make money. They train them on how to make the rap industry profitable or the music industry profitable in the Gambia. And we saw ST took the leap of faith. He took it to the stadium last year, sold out. This year, Jizu had the courage to follow the footsteps of ST, sold out. Attack went to Q City, sold out. ST came back to the stadium, sold out. These were unheard of, right? In my opinion, personally, I think Jelliwa Keate is the greatest Gambian artist that ever lived. but not even Jaliba went to the Independence Stadium in his heydays and did that. He used to do dances at the stadium. It was a dance. It was in the stadium. It wasn't like a concert in the middle of the field. ST did that, right? So you gotta admire the growth that we have seen in our industry for the past decade. And I hope it's gonna be better, many years from now, as the industry grows. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. What do you find yourself doing during your leisure time, Mr. Camara?
So for this trip is supposed to be a vacation, but it's more or less like a workation for me. I'm working at the same time trying to rest and chill in my downtime. So I usually come around the beach, which is so cliche, right? But yeah, I do that a lot. I go to the beach, I run, I like to run.
Okay.
And then there's a gym somewhere across the street from here called Elite Fitness. I go there to lift weight every now and then. And hang out around the pool, go home, eat my mom's cooking, visit family, pretty much the regular stuff. Oh yeah, by the way, I do the semester thing too, so I go to the MV nightclub. So you you have to go to the MV nightclub.
Yeah, you go to the nightclub too.
Right, I did that.
So how is Gambia right now? How are you really enjoying your trip this year?
I am. Gambia is love right now. Gambia is love compared to where we came from, compared to what we dealt with, compared to the things that I've seen. Things can be better, don't get me wrong,
okay.
Right? I'm not saying that we don't have issues. Oh, trust me, we have a bunch of issues that I can list forever, right? But at the same time, I'm an optimist. I see the glass half full, and I think our chances of success are far greater today than ever in our nation's history. I'm seeing young people in entrepreneurship. I'm seeing young people behind the cameras. I'm seeing young people in the media. I'm seeing young people, young lawyers. Every day, every year we put about 200 young people in the bar. I'm seeing my own non-profit that I'm part of, Your Change for a Change. Young doctors graduating from the medical school in Gambia every year. Young nurses graduating every year. All these things are encouraging. When you look at sports, even volleyball, big volleyball, right? I saw that our young men and women are performing internationally now on the international stage. So I'm very encouraged. Soccer, our young team went out there on the away game and took a victory that all of us thought that was almost impossible at the time. All of these things are positive signs that keep me encouraged that our future is better. Nonetheless, we still have a long way to go as well. Whether it's agriculture, whether it's tourism, whether it's health, whether it's our economy, whether it's sports, whether everything, there could be a thing or two that could get better. And one thing that is happening that breaks my heart, unfortunately, is the continuous dismiss of our young men and women in high seas in seeking for that greener pasture on the other side. And what is even sadder about it is when you look through the history of the Negro, many years ago in America, the black slave mothers, when they give birth to their children, some of them will drown them in underwater until they stop breathing because they feel they rather kill their children die than to watch them live through the agony of slavery. And to come back around 2019, you see the African mother hold their children's hand and pray for them to go out and try to sail across these high waters, knowing that their chances of dying is very high. To me, that says that I'd rather watch my child die than to continue to live under the bondage of poverty and suffering in this country. That speaks volume to me. And this is not only Gambia, this is almost across the sub-Saharan Africa. This is disheartening, it breaks my heart, but nonetheless, I'm also very encouraged when I see young people like yourself. Last year when I did this show, it was different people that I worked with. It was Mrs. Samba and Kebe that I worked with, and this year I saw 2 different people or 3 different people, and I see young women that are also involved in this behind the camera now, right? They are no longer just a cute face in front of the camera. They are now also getting their hands dirty behind the camera. That is encouraging. So for that reason, I will forever remain optimistic there.
By the way, before we proceed, we have our breakfast here with us, but I think we almost forgot to invite the viewers, and also the cameraman is behind the camera. But I know he's not part of it. I have forgotten, and I don't know how is it possible that you also forget about that. You did not invite anybody. So
what's your last name again?
I am Lee. Mine is not yet finished. It's here. Then
so Lee, in my defense, I also have something left. So you are not about to put this on me alone, right? The Sisa Kundas are watching, the Ture Kundas are watching, the Davo Kundas are watching, the Bojan Kundas are watching, and you are trying to put me on the spot about food. I refuse to be put down like that. I still have extra food left. I have mine left. I have an entire plate that is untouched.
For
right?
me, I believe
so the camera crew, the viewers, everyone, you are all invited. We still have more food left.
Mr. Camara, what I understand is that you are unable to consume all. That is why you leave this one. This is a leftover of what you have. But for me, I intentionally spare this one for my viewers and for my cameraman.
In my defense also, as a cameraman, the Davos and the Caesars and the Tourists and the Bojans are all my children. Okay. So I cannot eat all the food and not leave some for them. So that's why I leave some food for them to come and eat. So yes, as a responsible dad, I still have extra food for everyone to eat. I provide. I'm a provider. I provide for my children.
This is how you do it. You cater for yourself first before they come.
No, right now, right? I send them to school. School fees, if I say, you know, no school lunch day later, caramel. So when they come back, they eat. That's how it works, right?
What about like the economic because they don't broke the body, they have global, they have global, Sunday. Something better than I don't they are watching you.
I love you also. So I'm sure it will be fine. They will understand, right? So my guy, no for new year, no for.
Restaurant, hotel or Ragana, condo, every day, I dance some water, and I holiday. I am a one so, yes,
Mabuku school fees, the Panso, Mabuku the Panso.
Well, you are making millions. You can go for no they said you are making millions.
Tokia, I'm trying to get number July. So
I hope you will understand.
I hope you understand, but like I said, there's more food, so you are all invited. So you, yes, I'm speaking to you right now. If I see Dabo, Ture, Bojang, I still have enough food for you. You are still welcome. You can join us. No, cameras right now. I just broke my fast, so from now on I won't eat again until tomorrow at this time. So until Kabalu Laila Kumula, you know. So yeah.
Going back to the clubbing, so Mr. Camara, do you dance?
You know what they say? You know, kill it for the feet, right? We lean back, 2-step. Right, you know, 2-step. I live in open close. Wow, you better plan now, open close. 2-step for the moment, and 2 the
No, rigorous shaking, just...
Bull shake too much.
Yeah.
No, they're not 2-step.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, can you do some of our cultural dance, like dance to the rhythm of the mbala or the some instruments like bala, fong, maybe the talking drum, and how is it called, the tama?
This man may surprise you, but I have high confidence in my Bukarabu dance skills.
Really?
I think I'm a very, very good Bukarabu dancer. So you put some Bukarabu drums here and you start playing the Bukarabu instruments and ooh, yeah. I put my Bukarabu dance skills against anyone. I'm confident about that. And pa Ojo me gis na nga bari baku legi nga nek ci living here Facebook live ken xamul di baku di ma fekk Bukarabu mala ci living akat nak yow.
As compared to Paos, who do you think will be if you are to compete in a Bukarabu dance?
Kan Pao?
Yes.
Wa ba ñu la ko faale. No ko ba ñu li amul lolu.
Paos is skillful in dance.
Bare ko no ko ba ñu la ko mu lolu. Ndeni yo ko tiga ko tama bi lolu divin waaw. Ay Bukarabu. No Bukarabu mo bul wari. Ko na ba ka ba ragalu ma ci kenn.
Yeah.
Okay,
so Mr. Can you, Mr. Camara, I will want us to have a detailed discussion on your educational career from the lowest level in the Gambian year to the apex in the Gambia. Yes, that's what I want to know. Where did you start? Even it's nursery, where how do you continuously climb the ladder up to the highest level in the Gambia?
Suma jangal bi mom man ko doore referent JC5 nursery school Bamba bu ma joge fofu I proceeded to Albion Primary School fu ma defé primary 1 all the way to primary 6 ma joge fofu nonu dem the only significant high school ci dëkk bi the only high school ci dëkk bi the rest mom ñi la xam man ben high school la ci dëkk waaw
later I have a question for you. Okay,
mooy Gambian Methodist Academy.
Okay.
Waaw so that's the only high school ma xam ci dëkk bi dégg naa nag am na yeneen jàngekaay fi nekk waaw fu yeneen taalibe yi dem waaw ñooñu yéen a xam man benn place rek laa xam mooy Methodist Academy ma dem fa grade 7 ba grade 12 foofu la suma jàng amoon si dëkk bi. Yeah.
So I once came across this story on social media on Facebook that you made some description, you attached some description to some of the schools here in the country. I am sure you know what I'm talking about. For example, you talked about, I don't know whether it's you, I will ask whether it is you. You talked about, for example, Nusrat Senior Secondary School, Muslim High School, Gambia High, among others. You made a comment about them, like Nusrat is a breeding ground for, if I am right, is it for, I am not very sure, but I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. So, is that you?
In my own defense.
And also, if you can give us a detail about it, just say yes.
I cannot confirm nor deny that allegations. Anything I say can be and will be used against me.
Yes.
So for that reason, I plead the fifth. So the parade and I'm like, oh, you go post. Wow, but
can I tell you the video where I show it?
Focus.
Okay, go.
Anyway, that like I said, I cannot confirm nor deny that. By most serious note, I have a lot of respect for every single educational institution in the country. Léegi nag lu soo see wax Sanoya waatu doo bi nag Sanoya ka tara ko ko no léegi ñu durante daala do yàgg na depuis Banjul primary school you know ñu naan seen mairies amul compound ku la bàyyi demal west yi nga boole ko waay wax yoo xam ne daal naka su dul noonu ñu naan Star daw na dina ci xaj mooy seen uniform bi woon many years ago Sarah will wear the red pants I believe it was a white shirt, I can't remember, but yep, see lifin bi da won rek xam nga si diko dom bay dom yaayo cousin whatever toñante rek la min ton dara lu bon lu ton xebaat yo or xaste or anything ay inter school toñante la so fan na léegi ñu durante daal waaye naa yëpp si fo caaxaan na rek.
Okay. Wow. So at this point in time, I just want to establish whether it is your own right or because I understand that it doesn't go down well with many people. It really attracted so many comments from people, you know, especially students from those schools.
Wow.
Yeah, so I hope they will understand what you said. It's just somehow, yeah, as you put it. Yes, it's acceptable. So, was it you?
Like I said, I cannot confirm or deny if I wrote or didn't write that particular article. So it's for the viewers to go figure, and it is what it is.
Okay, that's quite yeah. He said it is just somehow, yeah, and I think it's good, and they will understand. The students from Muslim will understand, students from Muslim will understand, students from Gambia High will understand. And you did not say anything about Methodist. You did not say anything about Methodist.
Method is perfect. What is there to say about Methodist? I didn't say it, but the writer didn't say anything about Methodist, right?
Right, yes.
Right. The method is perfect, and I agree with the writer. What can you say about the Methodist? It's just perfect. What is perfect, right? That's just what it is. Yeah, like, there's nothing to say. It's perfect.
Yeah.
It is perfect.
Going for a short break. It is already past 2 o'clock. We will go for a short break, a lunch break, and we will get back to you soon. This juncture, we will go straight to your writing career, if it is a career for you. How, at what level in your life did you get the inspiration to become?
I'm more of a storyteller, and I write when I have a story to tell. Writing just happened to be the medium that I use today, and tomorrow, who knows? Technology may change, and I may have to. The fact that I have a lot of respect for the art of writing, and writing comes from a long tradition. It comes with a lot of do's and do nots, a lot of, this is governed by a lot of policies. In order to give myself that freedom to write freely and think freely, I don't consider myself a writer. But for lack of a better term to describe myself here, for the sake of today, let's say I am a writer, and I will say I am one for today. Writing for me came about when I realized that if you go back and listen to or read Patrice Lumumba's letter when he was about to kill or get murdered, the last letter that he wrote and sent to his wife, at the end of that letter, he mentioned that he believed that one day the history of Africa will be written by Africa on both from the north and the south of the Sahara. And it will be a history of dignity and pride. And I believe our generation is the generation that Lumumba was calling for. So for that reason, I feel like in order for us to properly articulate our story, for us to tell the factual side of our story, it is important that the African story is being told from the African perspective, from the African point of view, and more importantly, from the African himself. That's one thing. And the other thing is when you listen to or read about great writers like Chinua Achebe, he said that the African writer has 3 mandates, which is one, the African writer has to make sure that he analyzes, he had to make sure that he preserve our history by writing about it. He has a responsibility to make sure that he analyzes our current situation, and that he has to make sure that he provide a forecast of what's to happen in the future in the African context. And I think that's a very, very important thing to do. And if you look at my second book, Africa Through a Mirror, that's what I try to achieve through it. To see what are the things that we've been through in the past that continue to hinder the growth, economically and social economic growth of the African continent. What are the mistakes we made? Not to say that colonialism is not bad, not to say that slavery didn't contribute, not to say that famine and drought and sick diseases and all other epidemics didn't contribute to it. Not to say none of that. Not to even acknowledge, not to even say that racism and blatant discrimination against people of color globally doesn't contribute to that. I'm saying all of that exists. But yet, as Africans, what have we done that contributed towards the backwardness of our African continent? I went back in history to look at some of the issues that our our founding fathers, whether it's the Nkurumas or the Nyereles or the Kawundas or the Kimo Kenyatas, the Sekou Touré's, the list goes on. What are the things they did right, and what are some of the mistakes that they made along those paths? Because as much as we admire them, we also recognize that they had their own shortcomings. What are some of the things that our present leaders are making that we feel like they can do better? Or what are some of the things that they are not doing that we think are urgent and need to be taken care of and need to be respected and need to be done if not already done? And also, what the kind of Africa we want for the future? What is the type of Africa that we need? What is the type of democracy when we speak of democracy in the African context? What are the type of political outlook do we want? What type of economies do you want to see in Africa? What type of student do we want to produce in our public institutions? What type of Africa do we want all properly strategize, you have to properly plan, and you have to intentionally do something for growth. And I think this is time for the African to start thinking that way. When an African politician come to you and say to you, vote for me, country, if they cannot give you that, they are not serious. Because every African politician at this point should at least put together plans and policies that we can all believe in, that we know if we implement these things, it should at least move our continent towards the right direction, where it can move us from being a third world country to a second world country at a minimum. These things are happening. We have seen it successfully happen in Kenya. Natural resources. Cape Verde have none of that. They have plenty of sea, they have plenty of sunshine, and they have the human resource. They implement their human resources, they apply their people, they use the resource that they have, which is the water and the sea, and today they have been successfully been able to migrate themselves from a third world country to a second world country and working even towards surpassing that. That can happen in Gambia, it can happen in Senegal, it can happen in Kenya, it can happen in any other part of Africa. I genuinely believe this. I've met with young Africans not only from Gambia but across the African continent, and these are some of the things that young Africans are talking about. Young Africans now, you cannot lie to us anymore. We get on Facebook, we get on Instagram, we get on social media, we see what the rest of the world is doing. We saw what the Chinese people are doing in China, we saw what the Indians are doing in India, we saw what the Latin Americans are doing in South America, we see what the Americans are doing in North America, we see what the Europeans are doing in Europe. We know these things can be done. Those people, they are not better than us. We are not children of a lesser God. We don't worship a lesser God than they do. What are they doing differently? It's all about policies. It's all about leadership. It's all about taking responsibility and nationalism. These things can happen in Africa. These are the things that force me to write. These are the things that make me every day when I go to sleep, I wake up. What else can I contribute to my country? What can I contribute to my continent? To force the young Africans, to castigate the young Africans, to make sure we think. That's the main thing. I'm not offering solutions. I'm not saying that I have a silver bullet solution to Africa's problems. No, don't get me wrong. What I'm calling for is, I'm just trying to agitate the young African minds, force a thought thinking. And when we think and engage others in conversation and a debate about ideas, it's for the betterment of our country and it's for the betterment of our continent, period. So these are the reasons why I write, for the most part, to agitate young minds to think and think deliberately about the future of our continent.
Hello viewers, before we proceed, I will remind you that Mr. Saikou is a public speaker, he's a motivational speaker, so with one question he will say a lot. So I hope you will understand. Yes, he will never, so he will say whatever you want to hear. Now he is good in writing. He is good in speaking. His speaking school, his speaking skill is fine, and his writing skill also is very fine. Now, beside me is a library, a whole library sitting beside me. So, Mr. Saikou Camara, we understand writing is a very difficult art. Um, Having ideas or having a background of a particular story is one thing, and putting it into literature, putting it into record is something that is different. It involves rigorous activities. Now, for instance, planning, drafting, actual writing, you name it. Mr. Saikou, how do you go about it? How do you compose these two books? I believe you have two books so far right now. How do you compose these two books, Mr.?
Balama Ansaluru,
Yeah.
I want the viewers to understand that something that happened that he did subliminally. You hear him call me Mr. Cisse. Now I just want you to know that I was deliberate, and I caught it, and I'm just gonna let it go because my mom is Cisse, and my uncles, but they are also my children in one regard. So I will let that pass.
Then I'm on the right track.
Just FYI, just let you know I caught that, and I will let it slide.
Okay.
But as far as writing is concerned, I tell people you cannot be something that you cannot see, right? You cannot aspire to become an astronaut if you never heard of what an astronaut is.
Yeah.
It's just impossible. If you never heard of or seen an astronaut, it's so hard to become one. Same thing is with writing. You cannot become a writer if you don't read. It just doesn't happen. You cannot be a professional soccer player if you never watch soccer. You cannot be a professional basketball player if you never go to the gym and shoot basketball, right? So you cannot call yourself wanting to become a writer if you do not read. It's just basic, just that simple. And I have a lot of people ask me that question. I have a story to tell. I would like to write, and I ask them, how many books do you read in a month? Oh yeah, man. Boy, man, getting out of it, boy, the big grade 12, motherfucker now, boy. Oh boy, man, getting out of it, boy, the big college. Well, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. So the first step is if you want to become a writer, you have to be a reader. What that does to you is it allows you to see the different styles of writing, right? Because anyone can tell a story. If I ask you right now to verbally explain to me what you went through this morning from your house to come in here, that's a story on its own. Now the question is how do you narrate that story? You could just say that I get out of my house, I got into the van dropped me at Westfield, I took a taxi, I came all the way to Senegambia. From Senegambia, I took another taxi and I was at CV Hotel. That's a simple, basic way of telling a story, right? If you read and you hear what same people are going to express that story as, they may not start from there. They may say that, yeah, waking up in my hood alone is a struggle. I never wanted to wake up. It's the Fuller man and the old lady who woke me up fighting over famous Mahalis. That's how you start your story. You trying to explain making it to Senegambia, but you first captivate your audience, your reader's attention with the Fuller man and the old lady fighting early in the morning, and we can all pretty much relate with. Everyone witnessed where two traders arguing over money at some point. Storytelling. That comes into style. What is your writing style? And reading give you those skill sets. I remember when I was writing my first book, I was also at the same time reading Trevor Noah, Born a Crime book. And this man is a comedian, he's an international speaker, he's an actor, he's a PT media personality. His storytelling skills are impeccable. They are perfect, right? So reading it, I'm like, oh yeah, so this is how you say this. I could have easily said it really vague, but I can make it more entertaining and interesting and make it more colorful, telling the same story. You right? So it helps when you read other people, other writers, that will help you understand how to tell your own story when you want to write.
I understand that you won several awards. Precisely 3, I could remember. In 2014, you won an award. 2015 and 2016, you won another award that was consecutive. 2016, this particular award was back to back. You consecutively won that award. Can you tell us something about it?
I'm not sure I can remember which particular one you refer to.
BEN, that was 2014.
Oh,
was an
Ben,
award.
yes,
Ben,
yes.
Ben.
Yes. Yeah.
And also this citizen
Okay.
employee.
Okay, so the Ben Award is called the Black Employee Network. Is given to is an organization run by young black professionals in corporate America. It's given to individuals with superior community service, and it wasn't me. I just happened to be the name on it, in my opinion. But it was the organization itself, Your Change for a Change, our community organization that's existing here in the Gambia. We have chapters in the U.S., France, Sweden, and we have sister organization in Ghana, Sierra Leone, Guinea-Bissau, and other countries. So it's not me. I just happen to be the face of the organization because I was fortunate enough to be part of the founding members of the organization, and I've been trusted with the responsibility of being the president of the organization. So, but the work is done by young men like my brother here, Mr. Bojang, and then my sister here, Mrs. Gay. They are all part of the organization, and these are the executives that are part of the organization here in the Gambia. People like Matilda Kebe, they are part of the organization here in the Gambia. You know, these are all young people, and our young nurses, our young doctors, you know, who goes out into the communities and offer free services. That award was for them. I just happened to be lucky to personally receive it.
Yes, tell us about the Your Change for Change.
Your Change for Change is a non-profit organization that is founded by young Gambians, and back in 2011. And the purpose is simple. Whatever change that you think you can bring to your people, whether it's Gambia, whether it's in China, you know, we do not discriminate. Bring your ideas. If you think you can only contribute $1, bring your $1 or 50 butu, whatever it is. Not to say that you cannot give us your $100,000 if you have it. I'm just saying. So we say whatever little that you have, bring it, and let's add our little change together. Hopefully we will be able to impact a bigger change. And then the change can also be an idea about, let's say, healthcare. This idea comes from members of the organization. You know, ideas like our scholarship program, our mentorship programs, ideas like our back to school initiative, our Saving Smiles initiative. These are all things that the organization does. Ideas come from the members of the organization. So the contribution or the change that you have in heart doesn't have to be financial. It could be anything positive that can positively impact our people. Yeah.
Now, how do people who want to read, who want to be inspired by your book? Because I read a whole lot of comments from people who are opportune to read, to go through your book. They said they are inspired and the content is fine. How do people have access to your books? The testimony of an African immigrant, Miro. How do we have access to these two books?
If you are here in the Gambia, you can easily find the book at Timbuktu.
Okay.
Yeah, around the what is the location? Is it the Cape Point or no? Fajara End. When you take that bend going towards Bakau, Newtown area, yeah, there is a Timbuktu there that you can find the books. Otherwise, if you are abroad, you can always buy it on Amazon. If you just type up my name, Saikou Camara, you should be able to find the books, both of them. I believe I am the only Saikou Camara who's an author on Amazon. So when you search my name, it's pretty easy to find my books.
Okay. Talking about the two books, yes, Mr. Camara, the interview has been a little bit lengthy. I think I will just put this final question to you. It's not a question. Now, Mr. Camara, can we quickly go through the content of, just briefly, the content of some of these books? Yes.
The first book, Testimony of an African Immigrant, is a story about the young Gambian growing up in Gambia, having a dream of traveling abroad, and coming from a very, very humbling background. Used to go to Albert Market, sell palm oil in the morning, and go to school in the evening. And then having an opportunity to travel to abroad to get some education. I was lucky and blessed to have that, and to work in corporate America. So I pretty much talked about my journey from starting in Tobacco Road to Old Joshua to getting a visa to go to American University, having a work in corporate America. Some of the experience that I had dealing with different people, some of my encounter with race and racism, some of my encounter with my fellow African brothers in the diaspora, the African American community, and also what are some of the challenges that I had and how I overcame those challenges, and continue to strive every day. Not to say that this book is biography of my life. I don't
So it's a portrait of your own life.
Right, but at the same time, I don't want it to be seen as it's a biography of my life, because I feel like I still have a long way to go. I have a lot of learning, a lot of mistakes to make in life, and hopefully one day I'll be able to make a second edition of that particular version. But nonetheless, this is just a snippet of the little thing that I've learned in life, because I've understand that man is mortal and life is not promised to any human being. Youth age is a opportunity, is a privilege, and it can be taken away from us any day, any time. So I wanted to make sure that I tell my story while I can, and hopefully I'll live long enough to write more books like that in the future. The second one, Africa Through a Mirror, we already went through that early on. It's pretty much looking at Africa and saying that you, the African, look at yourself in the mirror. What do you see? Are you proud of the Africa that you see? Do you think there's anything that you can do as a young African to contribute? When you look at the greatest crusaders of our continent, the Nkrumahs, the Mandelas, the Nyereles, these are all people who started at a very early age in their 20s when they were fighting for independent Africa. Even when you travel abroad, when you look at some of the most prominent civil rights activists, Martin Luther King, you were in their 20s when they started fighting for freedom and equality in America for the Negro race. So I'm challenging young Africans in this book to say, look at yourself in the mirror. Read through some of the mistakes that our forefathers have made. Look through some of the shortcomings our leaders are making today. What can you contribute to make sure our tomorrow is better for all of us?
Thank you very much, Mr. Camara. That brings us to the end of the interview.
Thank you very much. And by the way, once again, Paus Buldaw Abu Ragal Mayo, the Bukarabu Dance Challenge. So pare na fu mu nekk si maa ko si okk na fu mu nekk nii